Michelle, we're out at your place, Farmbelly. We're in Saxapahaw, North Carolina. I am so excited to be here. Your farm is beautiful, and it looks just as beautiful as it does online. So tell people, what you guys got going on here. Talk about the farm a little bit.
Yeah, so my husband and I purchased this property a little over a year ago. It's 10 acres total, and we're growing a mix of vegetables and herbs and fruit. We also have some chickens on about a 1/4 acre. And we sell primarily through my online farm stand, and then also to some local chefs and caterers.
Okay, and so you did this all this year?
Yes, this is our first year here. I've been farming in some way or another for the past 12 years or so, but this is our first season here, so it's been a lot about building infrastructure, deer fence, irrigation, prepping all the soil, the wash pack, and now that all that's in place, I feel like we can really hit the ground running.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your background. I know you mentioned a good amount of farming experience, but what are some of the other things in your background that have really become part of this business here?
Yeah, so I started getting into farming when I was a freshman in college, and I definitely did not grow up farming or cooking. I'm from the Midwest and had a very Midwestern diet growing up, and I just kind of fell in love with farming. And after working on farms all over the East Coast, I realized I really didn't know how to cook anything that I was growing, and that really just didn't feel right with me. So I decided to go to culinary school at a place called Ballymaloe, which is a farm-based cooking school in Ireland, and it is truly heaven on earth, and you really just cook with everything that's coming from the farm. So coming from an agriculture background, it really just made sense to me. And so coming back after cooking school, I worked in some kitchens, but I realized that what I really loved was education and teaching, and so I started teaching cooking classes. And so this has always been the dream, to have kind of a farm-based cooking school where people could come and just really learn how to cook with delicious local seasonal produce.
Very, very cool. All right, let's go take a look around the farm.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so we grow on a quadrant system. So we have 5 quadrants total, 4 on this side of the barn and then 1 over on that side. Each quadrant is 50 feet long by 40 feet wide, and there's 10 rows in each quadrant. And I really am glad that I put down this landscape fabric around the perimeter of each quadrant, because it really helps. We have a lot of grass here, so it really helps from grass from creeping into the beds. And we're on a permanent raised bed system. Each bed is 30 inches wide. And we mostly use drip irrigation to irrigate. And the quadrant system is nice just because it's a good way to organize things of, blocks of our brassicas. And so when we're rotating crops through the different seasons, I kind of know, okay, which quadrant were the brassicas in last fall. And it's just a nice way to organize things. We purposely have these really wide pathways because this is a space where we want people to come and learn and walk around. So we wanted to make sure that there was room for people to walk, knowing that that would sacrifice a little bit of growing space, but that was a decision that I made intentionally.
I think a lot of people try to cram as many beds in a certain place as possible, especially on like a 1/4 of an acre. But yeah, I think it's awesome. It feels very comfortable here. You have a lot of room to work. And the layout and the organization is epic. I love looking at this. This is so cool. So you guys are using this also for a rotation, and I know this is your first year, but you just one block will be brassicas and the next year it'll be something else, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, and it's not always the entire block that's dedicated to brassicas, but I have a pretty intense spreadsheet on my computer where I kind of have everything mapped, and so I know exactly where everything is from year to year, and so I can make sure that I'm not planting brassicas in the same place. So yeah, that just makes it easy for me to keep track of everything.
This field of brassicas look amazing. Talk a little bit about what you guys grow here and some of the stuff we're looking at behind you.
Yeah, so we have some different kinds of broccoli. I'm in the process. I try not to do too many different varieties of any one thing because I want things to be consistent and have a lot of any one thing. But I'm also in the process of seeing what varieties work the best. So I have 2 different types of broccoli here. Just threw in some mixed lettuces. We've got collards and a few different types of kale. I know a lot of people are really excited about fall greens after eating summer vegetables all summer.
Absolutely. It looks like you're trying a bunch of different kinds of kale.
Yeah, I do. I sell mixed bunches, which people seem to really like. So it's a mix of red boar, lacinato, and just like curly green kale. I also just do straight lacinato, but I think it's nice to be able to offer both of those because people seem to like a little bit of color and fluff in their kale.
That's cool. I've grown mixed baby kale before, but not full-size kale.
Yeah.
And that goes over well with your customers?
Yeah, they seem to really like it. So because I have a culinary background, I'm also really interested in making things like tea blends. So what we have here are a bunch of medicinal herbs. So right here we have Tulsi, which is one of my favorites and is going to be the base for our tea blend that we're going to be making this fall. It's great because we can cut it back several times. Like I think we've already cut this Tulsi back 2 or 3 times and it just comes back really quickly. The bees love it. We also have like anise hyssop, lemon balm. We have some roselle on other parts of the farm. But I really love to have, especially on the ends of our quadrants, just really beautiful plants that are flowering to bring in beneficial insects. And it looks pretty.
Looks unbelievable.
So because this is our first season, we really had to think about where we were going to put our time and energy and money and putting in some infrastructure. So first thing we did was put up a deer fence, then it was irrigation. We were able to just tap into our well and put spigots at each of our quadrants. Another big thing has been putting together a wash pack area. It just makes our life so much easier to have a really organized space where everything has a dedicated spot where we can wash and pack and store all our produce.
Okay, so let's go take a look at that.
Yeah, let's go. So when we were setting up our wash pack area, we really tried to think about the flow of when we're harvesting and bringing things in. So we have all our harvest bins here, and then we come in from the field, things kind of first go onto this table, and these are all great Craigslist finds or Facebook Marketplace. So this is nice because we can fill it with water if we're ever washing greens, but then we built this little frame to go over top if we're just needing to spray some things down with our hose here. And then after things are clean, they move over to this table, which is where we, weigh and pack and label anything. So I have, shelves here with all the things that I really need quickly, my rubber bands, my twist ties, my bags. We have a little lettuce spinner over there. And then just making sure that, the things we really need close at hand at this packing table are really easily accessible. So we've got, bags and little pint baskets, towels, all those things are right there. And then we really don't have a ton of tools out here. We really just wanted to have the things that we use on a daily basis. So we've got harvest knives and little pruners, shovels, scuffle hose, trowels, things like that we can just grab. And then we're super excited about our new walk-in cooler, which I was able to get a grant to put this in, and it has just really been a game changer in allowing us to harvest things, a day ahead of time or, a few days ahead of time, and we can store them in here, and it's just been awesome. It definitely just makes my life so much easier, and it also just really means the quality of the produce is going to be so much better if we just have a really clean, organized space where we can wash and pack. I'm really trying to take pride in having really beautiful vegetables. Like if you put that much energy into growing something, you have to finish it. Like I like to really have beautiful bunches of radishes and really make sure they're clean and shiny, and unless you have a nice wash pack area and a place to store it, all that work that you put in the beginning is kind of wasted.
Agreed.
So these are our ladies. They're all named Dolly because they all look the same. They're Novogens, which is like a red sex-link hybrid. We have 34 right now, and I just love having chickens around. It's nice to have, animals on the farm. We get about 3 dozen eggs a day from them, give or take, which is pretty great. They're really easy keepers. We give them all our garden scraps. We love the chick saw. My husband built that for my birthday, which is great because I can move it around a little bit every day, and then we move the fencing every few weeks just so that they have fresh grass. The fence is solar charged, which is really nice, so we don't have to deal with plugging anything in to keep it charged. And we really don't have any issues with predators. We will have hawks come in occasionally, but otherwise they've been really fun to have.
Cool. I think viewers of my channel know about this system. This is pretty much exactly what I use. Have the eggs been helpful in the business part of it?
Yeah, definitely. At our farm stand, people love the eggs. They sell out every single week. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing that I'm glad to be able to offer.
Cool. Diversifying your products.
Yeah, exactly.
And these hybrid birds, they're definitely money makers for sure.
Yeah. So this is our caterpillar tunnel, which we got from Farmer's Friend, and we built it at the very beginning of this year, and it was great as a way for us to grow greens earlier in the winter when it was too cold to have them outside. And then I think around May we switched it to tomatoes and peppers, and there's some eggplant also. And so we intentionally put determinate tomatoes on the one end because they don't get as big, so we used a Florida weave trellising method there. And then mostly cherries in this row, and then kind of bigger heirlooms in the next one, and so those we just trellised from the top. And it's been great. These guys will be coming out pretty soon, and we'll be putting in all our fall greens. But yeah, it's been a great way to extend the season, and we do hope to build another one later this fall.
Yeah, looks like great production in here. And so this is your only high tunnel on the farm. What are you guys doing for a nursery this year?
Yeah, so I made the intentional decision to not build a greenhouse in our first year because I just don't have a ton of extra time, and to grow really good starts, I feel like you just really need to be on it every day, you know, making sure you're watering and fertilizing. And so I made the decision to buy in the majority of our starts. So we work with Banner Nursery, which is a little bit west of us, but they've been great. They custom grow everything. And so it's allowed me to just have really healthy plants that I don't have to worry about taking care of all season long. But I will start things like cucurbits that are pretty quick and easy. So someday we might have a greenhouse, but for now it's been working well for us.
Cool. I think that's a very logical approach. And I think that there's a stigma, which I don't know why that's the case, that we have to do everything as farmers. But I think from a business perspective, you could focus on everything else and just not have to deal with that. And that, do you think that's been helpful for you this first year?
Yeah, I totally agree. My mindset is I'd rather do fewer things really well, and then I can always grow from there once I have everything kind of dialed in. And so we're trying to start smaller, and then we can always grow from there.
So there are a lot of ways to handle the end walls on these kinds of caterpillar tunnels. You guys have a unique system. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So what we did is we just kind of drilled in some D-rings all across this end frame. And then we got little bungee cords that we hooked on one end of the D-ring, and then on the other side, we can show you, we took zip ties and we actually put it under the wiggle wire and made a little zip tie loop, and then the other end of the bungee cord just goes into the zip tie. And because we have so many of them along the frame, it's not heavy at all, so it doesn't pull on the wiggle wire, and so we can just kind of really quickly roll them up, bungee cord them, and whenever they need to go down, we just take the bungees off, roll them down, and we just have some heavy rocks that we put on to keep it down.
All right.
And it's worked really well.
Super simple.
Yeah.
All right, so this is another really nice plot, and the farm is super clean, weeds, organization, all that stuff. But the reality is this is a working farm, and I know a lot of people talk about the Instagram farm, and your Instagram account is beautiful. But you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, well, first, I think Instagram has been so helpful for small farmers to be able to share information about what varieties they're growing, what's the spacing. It's just an amazing place to share information and also just root each other on. But I also think it's really easy to just show shots of your farm where everything is perfect and weeded and clean, and it doesn't always all look that way. And I just think it's important to not feel bad if you're looking at pictures from someone else's farm where it looks so perfect and clean. To not feel like guilt or like that all farms have to look that way. Though I do think that it is important, and I like to really have a clean weeded farm, especially because we have people coming in for tours and education. But I also don't want to have this expectation that all farms have to look perfect all the time, because that's just not reality.
Right, and part of the reason why it can look that way is because you have a very small farm.
Exactly, because we're so small, I'm very aware that I'm able to really take the time and hand weed or scuffle hoe, and if you have a bigger farm, that's just not possible, and that's not as important to you, and that is totally fine.
Right, but for someone who's bringing people to the farm, and that's part of your business, I think it's important to have the farm look as good as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys do a great job, so.
Thanks.
All right, so what's going on behind you here?
So right now we have just some fall greens, got radishes, turnips, lettuces, some carrots and beets. Earlier this summer we had a lot of winter squash, and this was a good spot for that because they could really kind of spread out down the hill here. Okay,
and obviously very clean farm, very organized, nice lines, which I love, of course. Talk about your soil practice a little bit.
Yeah, so our process for flipping a bed is first we broad fork, then we add compost, and then we add some amendments. Usually it's a mixture of Harmony and feather meal, and then we just use a tilther to tilt it all in. I do tend to keep the stakes on the edges of each bed so that if over time the beds kind of start to fall, we can put string between the stakes of the ends of each bed and just make sure that we're staying straight and in line. But yeah, it's a pretty simple, quick flip for us.
That's awesome. I think it's pretty much the same thing we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the business side of Farmbelly. Talk about what you wanted it to be and maybe what it's become, and with COVID obviously changed things a lot. And I've been talking to a lot of farmers lately about the diversity of their business, and I think you're a great example of that as well, and your flexibility. So maybe talk about what you're doing now and what's been working and what hasn't been working.
Yeah, for sure. So initially, half of my business is just selling, the straight produce that we grow, and the other half was cooking classes and gardening workshops. where the produce that we grow would go into those classes. And obviously because of COVID, that's all the classes are on hold. So I'm really just doing 100% selling produce. And the way we do that primarily is through our farm stand. So we sell our produce as well as products from 6 or 7 other local producers. So we've got mushrooms and flowers and honey and sauces from the Eddie Pub down the road. And that's always been really important to me, because for people shopping, they can get a mix of different products. But also, especially right now, I think it's really important that the community lifts each other up. And so if I can offer a market for other producers in the area, that's something that's really important to me.
All right, and I'm hearing more about that, and I think that's a win-win for everybody. Talk a little bit about your farm stand and sort of the nuts and bolts, how that works.
Yeah, so we kind of built the plane as we were flying it. We launched the farm stand in mid-March, like pretty much 2 weeks after everything shut down. But the way we set it up is I update our online shop every Thursday. And then people go online, they get what they want, they put it in their cart, and then they have until Sunday at midnight to place their orders. And then pickup is on Tuesday. So we have a pickup here at the farm where it's totally contactless. We have everyone's order all packed and ready for them. And then we also have 3 other pickup locations. We have one in Burlington, Chapel Hill, and Durham as well.
Okay, and are you using any software, or how are you managing that?
So I just have my website on Squarespace. I just have an online shop, and the way I keep track of what's been ordered is just like how much inventory. So if I know I'm going to have 20 bunches of radishes, I start with 20, and if I have 5 left, I know that 15 have been ordered, and I have a very complex spreadsheet to keep track of all the other orders that are coming in for the other vendors, but it's been going really well.
Okay, and I think nowadays, especially with CSAs and things like that, people want to customize. So has that been a big advantage for your customers?
Yeah, I think people really like to be able to choose exactly what they want. And I've gone back and forth on whether or not I want to switch to a CSA model. And when I talk to people, they tell me that they really love being able to pick exactly what they want. And I think the pre-order model is also nice because it does create a bit of sense of demand and urgency because things do sell out. And so if people know that at 7 o'clock on Thursdays, that's when the farm stand is updated, people are on. We get 90% of our orders on Thursday evenings, and it's been really amazing to see. I mean, almost all of our customers come back every single week, which tells me that we're doing something right and that people feel like this is a safe place where they can get really nourishing food every week.
I think in the COVID times here, I think it's touchless, it's remote, but people are still feeling connected to the farm.
Yeah, exactly. I'm out here working while people are coming and picking it up so they can talk to me. I know everyone by face. They don't even have to tell me their name, and I know who it is who's picking up their order. And I just think that's really important right now, especially when the food system feels especially fragile and people really want to know where their food's coming from.
All right, so I want to ask you about the name of your farm. Talk a little bit about that and, how that really incorporates what you're doing here.
Yeah, so the name Farmbelly, I came up with it when I was at culinary school, and to me, having a farm belly is like when you're just full of good food where you know where it came from and you either cooked it yourself or it was cooked by the hands of friends. So kind of like a beer belly, but a farm belly. And my tagline is, I like to help people eat like farmers. And to me, eating like a farmer is just eating locally and seasonally, not wasting things. But I also think it's okay, eating like a farmer doesn't need to be a gourmet meal. Like I eat frozen pizza every Tuesday after the farm stand because I'm tired. And I also have a really big, great salad to go along with it. But eating like a farmer doesn't have to be this luxurious thing. It can be really accessible and delicious and just make you feel good.
Okay, so you've spent a lot of time in the education space and with cooking classes also. Mm-hmm. And so that obviously wasn't part of the plan this year with COVID. But you have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. On it, I have lots of just short, helpful videos on things like knife skills, how to dice an onion, cooking with herbs, and I do a little something fun at the end of every video, so you should definitely go check it out.
All right, I will definitely put a link to one of those videos at the end of this video. So one thing that's been important in your business, not only in the produce that you're selling, but in terms of education, is bringing other farmers in and having them involved. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I of course do classes where I'm the only teacher, but I also really love and actually have more fun when I bring in other either farmers or chefs in the area and do classes together with them. And I just think it's really important to me to amplify other voices and shine a light on other producers and the work that they're doing and introduce them to more people. And I don't always need to be, the one up there teaching. I like to really give a platform for others to lead the way.
Cool. I'm the same way. I'm behind the camera today.
Yeah.
All right. So how can people follow along with what you're doing, or if they're local and they want to get some of your produce or some of those kinds of things?
Yeah, so if you're local and want to check out the farm stand, my website is just farmbelly.com. I'm also on Instagram, just at Farmbelly, the YouTube channel, which you'll link to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those are all great places to find me.
Very cool. I'll put links down below for all that stuff. Michelle, thank you so much for everything. Awesome place you have here.
Thank you so much. I meant to ask you, should I look at you or the camera?
Camera.
Okay.
You're doing fine.
Okay. And so that's just a big, sorry.
It's fine. A second so I can
That
cut.
way you can edit it.
Yes.
Okay.
I can tell you've been filmed before.
Yeah. I don't know where to go back from there. Farmbelly is kind of not the opposite, sorry. I don't want to say it's the opposite of a beer belly because I don't want to think beer belly. Do you want me to use that?